ready to do a presentation, that first piece, preparation, who's your audience? Are you presenting to high schoolers in youth ministry, which I've been doing for 16 years? Or are you presenting to business professionals, colleagues? Are they up the ladder from you? Are they at the same level? Or maybe are they folks that you supervise or who would report to you? All different kinds of audiences, your message might be slightly different depending on that audience. The venue. So again, for the webinar, completely different kind of a setup. You're just speaking into a microphone so that folks can actually hear you from wherever they might be. If you're standing in a large room and you need amplification, what kind of a microphone do you have? Is it attached to a podium where you're now anchored in one spot and you can't move? Or do you have a lavalier microphone or an earbud microphone, something that will allow you some movement? All of those things are going to impact the way that you're actually able to present. If it's a smaller audience like this, obviously amplification would just blow you guys right out of the room. We don't need that. So the technology then is not just that amplification. It's not just a microphone. It's PowerPoint. PowerPoint's very different because now it's not just interacting with the room. It's interacting with a screen, and there's some different skills. You don't want to stand like this to present, right? Folks don't only see the back of your head. That's not such a good thing. We saw some of that the other day at the Riverside Convention Center, unfortunately. 45 minutes of the back of somebody's head is a recipe for a lot of snoring. So one of the other things to consider is the time surrounding your presentation. So who's coming before you? Who's coming after you? Are there handoffs that you can or should do? And what can you do to make your message mesh with those before and after yours? And that leads right into the other speakers. What are they talking about? And as you're preparing for your event, understanding what are they going to talk about and how do you mesh what you're talking about with what they've said so that there's a continuity for your audience. And they're not feeling like they're over here, and now they're over here, and now they're back over there, getting yanked around as an audience. Big disconnect, not a real good thing for the folks that are sitting in those seats out there. Excuse me. Collateral materials. As you think about the collateral materials that you're going to present, this is collateral, right? You might have a tabletop in the back with your business cards, with books or CDs or brochures. So Terry, you've got your brochures back there. You're ready to go, right? So for the rest of us, shame on us if we don't have that stuff. And shame on me because I just went out to my car and realized that all of my extra business cards are in the other vehicle. So I think I've got like 2 business cards left after yesterday. So preparation. Make sure that you've got that stuff, whatever that stuff might be. A lot of times, especially when you go to networking events or mixers of some sort, there are door prizes. So are you going to participate in that? Take your stuff with you. Okay. Questions about the preparation piece at all? Especially if there's a specific thing coming up and you're wondering, what do I do with this?
Well, I'm after the first of the year, I'm planning to do a grief recovery outreach 12-week program. And where I'm going to do that, I'm not sure yet. It might be at the Hampton Hotel. Before I went out on my own, I worked at the Betty Ford Center, and they had everything for me. I had the PowerPoint all set up. It's in the computer. You just went in there and did it. And I had the microphone. But I don't have all that stuff. So I'm hoping that I'm going to get a big crowd at the Hampton Inn or wherever I do this. But I'm not sure about the technology of how I'm going to do that. I'm just going to, because right now in my little office, I don't need all that technology yet. So I use my my chart with my board.
Right.
So
the biggest thing that you can do there is work with either the Hampton Inn or wherever you're going to end up being, and find out what technology do they have available that you can use that maybe probably at a small fee of some some sort. So in association with renting the room from them, you can get the LCD, you can get a microphone, you can get whatever else you might need.
Okay.
And depending on the hotel, some are more equipped to help you in that way than others. So just make sure that you talk to the right folks there. Yeah. So they have event coordinators generally that you can speak to, meeting coordinators or whatever.
Okay.
So talk to those folks and they can help you out.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet. Eye contact.
People think.
Yeah, they
I don't
do.
know why, like even one-on-one, they don't wanna look at you, it starts being the same.
Yeah, they look at the floor, they look at a spot right over your head, right?
Yeah, it's very,
What is that? Eye contact's really important, isn't it?
yeah. Mhm.
It's a bridge for communication. I call it the visual handshake. So I want to talk to you, I'm shaking your hand visually right now so that I can communicate. It says, what I say, I respect you enough to give you eye contact when I say it. And if I'm speaking like this, what does it really mean? Who am I talking to, and why would you have any interest in listening to me?
You're talking to the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's probably, if that's where your communication ends up, it's probably where it belongs, is what is in the thoughts of your audience at that point. So don't talk to the walls, talk to your folks. Now, if you're nervous when you get up in front of a room, have one-on-one conversations and use eye contact to do that. So deliver a thought to one person, go to the next person and deliver your next thought. One thing I don't recommend is the sprinkler thing, right? And then, take right over your don't do that. All right. So one of the other pieces here that says significant points. If you're giving a business presentation and you have one person in that room who's ultimately going to be one that decides whether or not they're going to write the check to you, communicate that significant point to that person. If it's really crucial, I want to make sure that Carrie knows that it's really important, and that significant point is going to go to her. That's a big one. Body language. You've got stance and you've got gestures. Your stance is pretty important. Your foundation, if you're uncomfortable with your foundation, and we all have aches and pains, right? But just get comfortable with the foundation. If you lock your knees, for example, what's going to happen is you're just going to get tired. And then you'll get fidgety. And I've seen this happen too. Somebody that kind of rests on one hip and they present for a while, but then that hip gets tired. So they go to the other hip and they present for a little while this way. Then that hip gets tired. And pretty soon what's happening is it gets tired more quickly. And then they're dancing. And I had one guy that literally I said, I'm going to put a grass skirt on you. So he was bowing. Might not have been the best thing to say, but just put it away. So, suggestion, for men, it's a little bit wider than shoulder width apart with the feet, a little bit of flex in your knees. Something comfortable, a little bit athletic even, or active. So if somebody threw something heavy to you, you could catch it, and you'd be okay. For ladies, the stance may be a little bit narrower. A wider stance from the lady, and sometimes it looks aggressive for some reason. I don't know why, it's just a gender thing, I guess. But so a little bit narrower than shoulder width for the ladies, and maybe at or maybe a little beyond for the men. Yes, sir.
Oh, no, I was going to take a stance if I may.
Yeah.
I find sometimes for myself, and I don't know how it plays, when I ask you how I do, everyone always says, oh, you did wonderful, even though I felt like I choked miserably. I find sometimes I walk, especially like in a stage type or an auditorium type, I'll just move around. I don't lose eye contact,
Right.
but I just kind of want to find where my crowd is, do I have their attention or not?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. It's funny
Because
that
I
you
don't
say
like
that.
just standing there behind the podium and read to
Yeah.
them,
Well,
I want to interact with them a little bit.
And that's one of the things too, if you've got a podium, sometimes we get the death grip on the podium and we're white knuckling the thing. So just relax with the podium, and if you can, get away from it. Going from side to side on a stage, I don't have any problem with whatsoever. To me, that conveys an interest that you want to speak to everybody in the audience, and that's not a big deal. Carrie and I were in a church not too long ago, and this pastor was just frantic. I'd go from one side over here, he'd race over and say something over on the other side, and it didn't seem to have a purpose tied to it. And so that random sense, that's not such a good thing. But if it's more of a casual kind of walk over, communicate to this side.
I call it strolling. I kind of stroll to one side,
Yeah.
stroll to the other side.
Yeah, I think the key is don't let yourself get to or beyond 90 degrees.
Okay.
I think at
45.
most, 30 to 45 degrees at most, so folks are still able to see you and see the front of you. So, for example, this is about as far as I'd want to get, because Marla is going to be seeing my backside pretty soon, and we don't want that. So that would be the suggestion there. But I think that's, the purposeful movement, absolutely.
And might add that, don't forget the other side of the room,
Yeah.
because I know that, I like to do that too. I like to walk, especially in front of that. Right now, I have a little tiny office, I don't have to walk